Hello, Eco 701, Lecture 11. Then we are going to make use of these readings, starting off with the PowerPoint slides. 13. Some additional examples from the past students on how they write their empirical findings. Okay. Uh, Okay, and then I've got three examples. I will focus on the first two actually. The first one is feather. Okay, it's from her honors research essay, and then I'm going to show you that she actually writes very well. She used the right linking words such as however, on the other hand, when she wants to show contrast. And then when she wants to show similarity, she would use a wide variety of keywords like in addition, furthermore. And then when she wants to conclude, she would use keywords like consequently, as a result, etc. And then she presents a lot of tables and figures, and then I just want to give you some advice. Just to show more variety, maybe this is an example. She has a figure called 74.7%. You don't have to always show the exact figure. You can use words such as almost 3/4. And then for a table, she shows the exact number of people. But in your written paragraph, you don't need to type the whole 7 digit. You can use your own words such as 1.53 million. But remember, in one of my earlier lectures, I talked about the consistency regarding the number of decimal places in the written paragraphs. If you want to stick with 2 decimal places, then please be consistent in the whole chapter 4. And then this is an last example, 2.1%, you can use the words about or approximately 2%. So let's look at her actual one, exercise 4A, feather. Okay, so self-explanatory, so please focus on the yellow highlighted text. Okay, and then some of the tables. Okay, I hope you are going to create similar, tidy, reader-friendly tables. Okay, I think her research essay is about comparing disabled and and the able people. I think in terms of the labor market outcome. Okay, so this is quite a nice start, and then she runs some regressions on labor force participation likelihood on and employment likelihood, and then she includes some dummies on the health status, whether the person is able or disabled, and the disability grant received status. Okay, so this is quite a nice start. I rely on you to make it. I think this is the third time I've been mentioning that for these past students examples, I really rely on you to go through these past examples seriously by focusing on the yellow highlighted text and my sticky notes comments. You are going to learn a lot. I can assure you that. And then the second example, Nakadin, I just want to illustrate if you have a very long table and you require more than one page, how are you going to continue with the same table? On the next page, you can make use of the word continue. So let me open Nakadin's file. So this is what I want to illustrate. Table 4.1, demographic characteristics of the final sample. And then it carries over to the next page. Then on the next page, you can say table 4.1, continue. Okay. Again, when you have time, please go through this Nakadin example. Okay, again, you are going to see a lot of linking words and then nicely presented tables and figures. Okay. And then the third one comes from Kruger, another master student of mine. And then he looks at, I think he used the needs panel data to look at poverty dynamics, transitory short-term and long-term poverty. So again, please follow the yellow highlighted text and the sticky notes comment. Okay. And then actually for this one, this is quite a short lecture. We can focus on the writing workshop. So I give you some tables. The first table, you see a lot of information. So the problem is which are the important ones you should really explain in the written paragraphs. If we look at the first table, don't you think you have to discuss that the African racial share is the greatest, about 3/4? Okay, the comparison between male and female. And then for the next one, the age. Don't you notice for the males, they are older. Do you see the much greater share of 55 and 65 years when it comes to the male? And you can see the older average age, but the females in the sample relatively younger. Area type, you can say the urban share is dominant, about 50% for both genders. Education, I think you can highlight that females are more educated on average. And then table 2, when it comes to the work experience, I think you in the written paragraphs you can highlight that a much greater proportion of male they have prior work experience, 66%. But when it comes to the female, don't you notice this share is much lower? It's not surprising. Maybe a lot of females they never worked before because they are full-time housewives and so forth. Okay. And then when last work, if ever worked before, do you see the chronic unemployment problem is more serious for the male? A much greater share of male with past work experience, they last, but currently unemployed, they last work more than 5 years ago. And then similarly, duration of seeking work, you see the much greater share of male unemployed who have been seeking work for more than 5 years. So table 2 can actually illustrate two key findings. The males, a much greater proportion of male unemployed they worked before, but at the same time, chronic unemployment is more serious when it comes to the male population or the male unemployed. The third one is a regression. I think this is a log-lean model. You take log on the y variable. So when you initially only include the gender dummy, you can see the coefficient is 0.1111. But once you control for other characteristics like race, age, whatever, employment sector, and so forth, then you see the male coefficient becomes smaller. Okay, and some of the explanatory variables are statistically significant, and this is how we present the regression. We have to show the coefficient and standard error. Then the other basic information like sample size, R square, adjusted R square, computed F statistics, they are all shown at the bottom. And then actually when you run the regression on Starter, there is a way to automatically save the regression table in tabular format on Word. Then again, you have to follow the lecture speech notes and then watch the relevant YouTube videos or the teaching and learning videos, which I would also upload on eComfort. And remember to use asterisk to emphasize the statistical significance of the explanatory variable, assuming they are really statistically significant. And then finally, when it comes to the dummy variables, you have to talk about the base categories at the bottom. So for example, you include a male dummy here, but the female dummy is left out, then it means female is my reference gender category. Okay, and then this is the writing workshop. In case you want to self-destruct yourself, you can write in such a boring way. So let me pause for 1 minute for you to look at the horrible writing style for the 3 tables. So I'm going to stop for 1 minute. You will get bored upon reading the 3 paragraphs. Okay, let's move on to the eye-catching style then. Focus on the words I highlighted in yellow. So let's go through the better version. Table 1. Table 1 presents the demographic and educational attainment characteristics of unemployed by gender in 2018. First, in both genders, the African share accounted for about 3/4 of the unemployed. You can see you use words instead of showing the numbers, 75%. Next, the linking word. The unemployed males were relatively older. In brackets, you provide additional information. The mean age of unemployed male is older, 47.5%. Comma with a shockingly high 50% in the 50 to 65 years age cohort compared to females. In bracket, the mean age of female unemployed is younger, only about 30 years old. Full stop. The urban share was more dominant in both gender groups. Finally, it is obvious that the unemployed males were associated with inferior educational attainment as they only attained just above grade 7, whereas the unemployed females almost attained 12 years of education on average. So female unemployed individuals are relatively more educated compared with the male unemployed individuals. And then we move on to the table 2, the eye-catching writing style. So let's look at my proposed answer. And again, I have been saying my writing is not particularly good. You definitely can improve further. So let's look at the answer. The work experience of unemployed in each gender group at the time of the 2018 survey is shown in table 2. It is interesting that 2/3 of the males reported they ever worked before, but this proportion was very low at 25% for the females. This result is not surprising, as it was discussed in chapter 2 that some females may have never entered the labor market to work due to family responsibilities such as early marriage. So this sentence is important because you are trying to link your chapter 4 empirical findings with the chapter 2 literature review, the linkage or the synthesis or integration between different chapters in this case. Moreover, for the unemployed who worked before, it is worrying that almost half of the males unemployed last worked more than 5 years ago, in bracket, compared to only about 10% in the case of females. This empirical finding suggests the presence of chronic or long-term male unemployment. Finally, slightly over half of the male unemployed claimed at the time of the survey, you see I use a different word, claim instead of reported, that they have been seeking work for more than 5 years. Bracket, this is yet another indication of male chronic unemployment, whereas the opposite took place for the female unemployed, as 60% of them have only been looking for work for less than a year. And then finally, for table 3, the regressions, I need 2 paragraphs. I don't want to use one long paragraph, then it becomes not reader friendly. So rather split into 2 paragraphs. So let's look at my proposed answer. Table 3 presents the results of the ordinary least square regressions on log hourly wage of employed. In the first regression, when I only have one explanatory variable, male dummy was the only explanatory variable, and the coefficient suggests that male workers earn 11.11%, significantly more than females on average. However, after controlling for other characteristics, and then you list these characteristics in brackets, in regression B, it means we move on to multivariate regression. It can be seen that the male wage premium was only 5.55%. Yet this result was still statistically significant. I should actually highlight the word still, to be honest. It can also be seen that the goodness of fit improved significantly in regression B, as indicated by the much higher adjusted R-square in regression B compared with regression A after controlling for other characteristics or after including more explanatory variables. Regression B also shows that compared to colored, which is my reference race category, African workers earn 3.33% less, whereas white workers earn 12% more. Both results were statistically significant. Also, or moreover, or in addition, as the employee aged by 1 year, his hourly wage increased significantly by about 2%. In 2018, a convex relationship was observed between years of education and log hourly wage, meaning the presence of increasing returns to education. Remember from table 3, I include education year and education year square. Let me just double check. Yes, I do. Okay. To capture the non-linearity. Okay. And then let's go back to my paragraph. As expected, formal sector workers enjoy significantly higher wage. Bracket, the coefficient was 17%. Finally, I think I overused the word finally, to be honest, in all 3 tables. Finally, or you can say last but not least, okay, compared to employees, self-employed and employers earn 13% and 10% significantly higher on average, respectively, compared with my reference group, employees. So I hope you are happy with this example, and now you know how to do chapter 4.